Hi, it's Ian, and welcome back to my 30 Days of Knife Skills. This is day 19, and we are working with rhubarb. So this rhubarb I just picked from the backyard only a few minutes ago, and I just left one of them intact with a leaf just so I could demonstrate what it looks like. This is the leaf, and the leaves are toxic. So it's something that if you have animals in the backyard that eat leaves, then that's something you have to be careful about. You don't want to eat them. Even as humans, we have to be careful that we know that the leaves are toxic. So just be aware. Put that away. So these are the stalks themselves, and when you pull them, sometimes they come with this. So depending on where you get them, a lot of times they're found in the farmer's market at this time of year, and this probably be cleaned and it won't have this kind of extra material. But usually I'll just take that off. And with rhubarb, there's probably only two main things, and really only one thing that I commonly do with rhubarb, which is to make jam. So there's nothing really fancy with a knife skill or cutting whatsoever. It's just a matter of chopping it up into about half-inch pieces, throwing it in a pan, putting in sugar, a good amount of sugar, cover it, and then put it on high heat until it starts to go, and then maybe I'll turn it down and let it go maybe 15, 20 minutes until everything's broken down and it's starting to reduce. So even though it's liquidy, once I cool it and transfer it to a container, it should thicken up into a jam consistency. So I might do it just with rhubarb. Sometimes I'll add some strawberries, which are growing also in the backyard, and they'll add a little bit of sweetness and enhance some of this red color that we have on the rhubarb. So that's one of the combinations that are very classic, is strawberry rhubarb. Maybe sometimes I might add some orange zest or some orange juice, but these have so much water content already that I might be careful adding liquid. There's definitely no need. When you get the pan going with just rhubarb and some sugar on top of that, it looks dry, but after a minute or two, it will be getting pretty liquidy in there. So yeah, usually I do not add any kind of liquid. So the cutting, when there's a piece like this, usually I'll take off about this much, and the consistency of rhubarb, it's pretty stringy, maybe more stringy than celery. I heard that some people might think about peeling it, but this peel breaks down pretty easily when you cook it. So I've never peeled rhubarb. I haven't really heard of that many people doing that, but so I'm taking just these very ends off right now. And so for jam, which is the most common way I would do this, I wouldn't even be that careful about it, but something like that, half-inch pieces, even if it's a 1-inch piece, it's going to break down pretty easily in the pan, so something like that. The other very common way that people use rhubarb is in pie, so much so that I think some people call it a pie plant. And sometimes it's just rhubarb, sometimes it's paired with strawberries. And in that case, it doesn't really cook in its own juices in the pan directly, like for making jam. So I think in that case, I might go a little smaller like this. Something like that. Difference between jam size and pie size. And rhubarb is very, very tart. And if you're not prepared for that and you make a pie for the first time with under sugar quantities, then you're going to realize how tart rhubarb is. So usually I don't really measure anything. I might just cut up this whole thing, throw it in the pan to make jam, and add sugar. And when you think, oh, that's a lot of sugar, it's probably still not enough. So I'll just dump more in and then let it cook for a bit until it's cohesive. And then I'll taste it, and probably we'll need to add a little more sugar, or a lot more sugar, depending on how much I started with. So I think it sort of depends on your plant, of course, and what else you have in there. But yeah, just understand that it's a very tart fruit, but it has a really interesting, good flavor, and it's kind of fun to work with. So yeah, it's something that, since it grows in the yard, I will work with it often. Once it's jam, one thing you can do is to either make that as a topping for your ice cream, or actually blend it into your ice cream. One common way is to, when you're blending your ice cream or sorbet or whatever in your ice cream maker, you could put this jam in toward the end and just let it incorporate toward the end. It's really good. I have a frozen yogurt recipe that uses rhubarb jam in that way, and it's quite good. So anytime you're making a frozen dessert like that, ice cream or sorbet, the more water content you can get out of it, the better. So in that case, you might want to cook it down until it gets thicker and thicker. Might be a better way to, if you're going to use it for that purpose. But usually I'm not that careful about it. I don't think too much about it. I just throw it in the pan and let it cook. Or make a pie, which maybe I'll do a couple times a year. It's a little bit more labor intensive, but it is pretty delicious. So that's pretty much the only ways I think I use rhubarb, basically. Some people talk about the color of rhubarb being that the red is superior, but I think there are many varieties, and this variety never gets red all the way up. So, and I do notice that up here it is more fibrous than down here. So I'm not sure if there really is a big flavor difference. I've never tried taking this, only cooking the top, only cooking the bottom, and seeing how much of a flavor difference there is. But I do know that there is more fibrous material and less liquid toward the top. So since I have so much and I'm not that worried about it, I might take off about this much and use the rest. Something like that. And if I need more, then there's plenty outside. So anyway, that is rhubarb. If you have any questions, let me know. Otherwise, I'll see you on the next one.